Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, now, Nellie said snowman. Oh, goodness me. Good start to the day. Scarecrow, he is completed. He's all stitched. It went reasonably easily, other than it's quite a firm surface to stitch through when you've got that wadding slash, well, it's not wadding, that glue product in behind your fabrics. I know he won't fray, like it's a beautiful way to keep edges from fraying, especially when you get points like the edge of his little scarf here. I'll just bring it up to the camera. As I thought I would just use the cotton from a sewing machine, and I chose a bit of a yellowy, greeny sort of thread. Oh, look, I haven't done around the top of his hat. You see at the very top there, I've missed that little bit, so I have to do that. So just overcast stitch. Back in the day I would have done blanket stitch, but not anymore. Don't need to do that. Now that I've discovered this overcast stitch, it's like a breath of fresh air. That there is the colour thread that I used around him. I just wanted it to be subtle and not overpowering because he's only a little fella. So yeah, really happy with him, considering he's probably not real French, but I think he's fancy enough to be in amongst our garden. Now, the next stage, pumpkins. So I'm still sort of thinking about it. As I walked into my room this morning, I decided, I'm not going to use that webbing again, so I've got some greaseproof paper. I don't want the pumpkins to be as flat and as rigid as that. They don't need to be. So I want them to be a little bit more organic. Same with the leaves, and do some embroidery on top of them and things like that. So I've definitely decided on that. Actually, so that means I could turn this iron off that's clicking beside me, waiting to burn me. So let's do that, hey? 1 second. Actually, no, let's start again. I will turn it on because I will leave it on because these fabrics look a little bit creased and worse for wears. And in here is a little crease due to my hands. So let's just give it a little iron first. And the other thing, as I come into the room and looked at the piece, I sort of felt like the pumpkins were a little bit boring. So I recalled a couple of weeks ago, I picked up a floral fabric that I thought would suit. I'm just ironing down here, slightly out of camera. A floral fabric that would suit this particular piece. So I'm thinking, let's just notch it up a little bit. Maybe we add some flowers in amongst the pumpkins and the vines. I don't know how we're going to pull that off, but I want to continue that floral feel through the whole piece. So it's sitting on my table over to the side. Another thing that was given to me on the weekend, I've got a few scouts out there now, that if they see something interesting, they seem to be picking it up for me. And I looked at it originally and I thought, oh, when am I ever going to use that? But it's sitting here as well on the table. And I thought we might be able to collage it in as well. So I'm just jumping up to grab that. You're going to think, oh, there's a rabbit. Oh my goodness me. Okay. We're sidetracked already. Okay, so my relative that had the camel that I repaired, when I went up to deliver said camel, she'd been to the op shop and she picked up some of these little elements here and she thought maybe I could use them. I was just looking at it across the table and cutting out this applique and working that in. So that was the first thing that jumped out. Then she picked up this little bag with a bunny. Now, wouldn't he be nice to work into the garden? With a very little effort, he could join the party here. So bunny, some doilies, I've used that one a lot. And then this is just a piece of linen with a print on it. That'd be fun embroidered. Plus it's a frame, so you could do something in the middle. The camera's really zoomed in close. See, it pays to have scouts out there because you just never know what you're going to get. And you know the other thing about people picking up odds and bods for you is they'll pick up things that you may not. That's part of my scraps. So, and that was the case with this. I thought, oh, I probably wouldn't have picked that up. But now that I look at it again, it's saying, well, maybe that could join the party. So anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I think we need to work bunny into this. Why not? Random. I'm here to do pumpkins and I'm doing bunnies now. Okay, so first things first, let's get some pumpkins and some leaves organised into our arsenal so that we're ready to grab and place them down. So we sort of need all these elements drawn out. I got these pictures from Google. I just typed in free pumpkin leaf outline. There's heaps. Any images that caught my eye, I just clicked on them, and then I think it's the left click brings up that menu, and in that menu you'll see cut and paste and all sorts of options. I then hit copy, and then I opened up Word and pasted them into Word. Now that sort of dumbs down the photo a little, reduces it down so that it can be increased or decreased by just clicking on the corner of that image and dragging it in or out. A box will appear and you click on the corner and you can sort of expand it or shrink it. So what I tend to do, I didn't in this case, you can just see the box. I could click on that corner and drag the image to make them bigger or smaller. So I tend to then copy and paste a second one, make one box smaller, the next box bigger, and you could fill your whole page with different leaves. Is that pumpkin too big? Probably. Let's start with the small one. Now these pumpkins are designed to be appliqued and laid over each other, but I'm just looking at the way they're lying here on this page. We could even separate them. You don't have to lay them over. That would be a bit more interesting if there was a gap between them all. I think I might do that. Oh, I've still got this little iron clicking away beside me. What possibly could go wrong? My hands at the moment just feel like they're going through a war zone. They really do. They're quite tender from hundreds of different activities that I probably shouldn't be doing and getting myself into a pickle. And now this morning I woke up and the edge of my thumb feels really tender and I'm like, what is that? And it's this guy. It's pushing a very fine bead needle through those surfaces, and it's bruised the tip of my thumb. Not that I'm complaining, because that's what needlework does to us, doesn't it? Especially when you get into the zone and you're just like stitching away. We were watching a good movie too, but what was the name of it? Oh, it was a Jim Carrey movie. It was a bit silly, but it was good. It was good. Hello, Fudge. Fudgy. So I'm just trimming off the excess paper. Good morning, Fudge. What's your story? I think I'm going to take Bunny out. It's a shame to ruin a perfectly good bag. Yes, Fudge. But I might see if I can get it out where I keep the back I'm just wondering if I could stitch a new piece on the front and still maintain the bag. Like, goodness sakes, Corrine, stop it. That's just silly. But I will. Look, I'm going to cut that out, maintaining the integrity of the bag. Then I can maybe one day, you know, maybe one day come back and decorate the bag, repairing the hole. Oh my goodness. Okay, completely jiggered the bag. What's it saying there? Oriental Trading Company. Okay, so I'm going to keep that because I suspect that I could create something to fill the hole and we'd be away again with a bag. Does anyone else do that? Like you nibble something out of something to really ruin it, and then you go back and create a whole new project for yourself, doing something over that. Pop it in there. It's a silly girl. Now let's get little Bunny here, just trimmed back a little. He can have a little bit of background fabric around him because it is such a beautiful match to our piece. I'm going to nestle him in here somewhere. He's got to find a home. Every garden has a bunny, doesn't he? Is this Peter? You know, the Peter? Oh, wasn't the jacket that Sarah created beautiful? Oh, just cute. Oh my goodness. I woke up at like 3 in the morning and I didn't even really go to sleep thinking that the night was the night that our videos come out from the girls. I didn't even register. I was pretty weary and just went straight to bed. And then I woke up and it was 3 in the morning. I'm thinking, oh goodness sakes, go to sleep. And I just thought, oh, I wonder who's on YouTube now. And then up popped the girls' videos. And I'm like, oh, that's right. It's actually the night in question. And so I watched Rachel's. And I must have drifted off back to sleep because Sarah's was on the play as well. So YouTube must have just picked up that would be something I would want to watch next. So I woke up and Sarah was on. So I rewound it, started afresh because I sort of did come to a little bit. It was probably about 4:30 by then. And I'm lying there real dozy, and this little blue jacket she created, just as sweet as anything. Gorgeous, beautiful work, Sarah, beautiful. And I must have dozed off again because then I woke to Nick the Booksmith and her latest video. And I could hear her talking in my ear and I'm thinking, who's that? Someone here. And then I realised I still had my earplugs in my ear, well, one of them anyway. The other one usually falls out and disappears somewhere in the bed sheets. So it was quite an evening. I dozed all night and then I ended up watching Nick for a little bit, and then I thought, oh, I've probably missed a bit of Sarah's, so I went back and caught the rest of that. And then I thought, oh, well, I better see what Rachel finished up. So I watched the rest of that. So it was just one of those nights. And I don't know if I actually got much sleep, but I feel all right. Well, I'm perky anyway. Not sure when you'll be watching this video because there's a few now in the pipeline. The next vintage blend studio projects videos are up. So our next prompt for the month of February is cross stitch. So I think you'll enjoy that. You've probably watched one already. Yeah, you would have. I would say that it may be Monday. I think it might be Monday for you guys watching this. Anyway, doesn't really matter, but you would have watched my version of the cross stitch prompt. Some little birds. I'm not a lover of cross stitch anymore. I've done my days of cross stitch. But I think that might be too big, that leaf. I don't think we're going to need him. Yeah, my days of cross stitch are gone. It's pretty hard on the eyes. Let me pin that down. But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be really picky with what I do. And the little birds, they're just so cute. So I put in an effort and did the little birds, and they came up beautifully. Gee, I hope you've watched that video. Pretty sure you have. So it's actually Thursday. Yeah, you will have. So it's Thursday today. So you're watching the finishing of the beehive video. Friday will be my Susanna's project, the Vintage Blend Studio, where we get a prompt each month. If you're not doing it, guys, you should do it. It is really, really fun. The pattern on Susanna's site, or the instructions for the 9 projects, and we're talking once a month, so this is not hard, and you're not too far behind to catch up pretty easily, is only like $3 Australian. That is nothing, and you're just getting such a fun project. So yeah, I have filmed a few videos ahead. I think I'm up to May. So it's certainly something that you can pace yourself through, and then you get the treat of Susanna on the first Tuesday of each month showing you her project. And she did some kits up, which I think most of them are sold. There might be 2 left. And they're just beautiful. They're these soft blues and pinks, and oh, I was so tempted to get a kit, and I'm like, no, I've got enough stuff that I could easily do this. So yeah, and I'm creating a journal like we did with the Roxy Journal of Stitchery, somewhere to store my pages, and I've got enough pages in there that I can do other pages as well. So if we get to the end of the project and Susanna decides to go on with something else, I can either add that to the book, or I can pick an old technique, vintage sewing technique, and go on my merry way with it. So it's going to be a handy little journal to have, because there's always something. Like we were talking about stump work. I'd like to explore stump work, and everyone has given me a list of just different YouTubers that have done it over the past few years. So I've been watching it, and this journal that I'm creating with Susanna's project is perfect for that, where I just pick something that I want to learn and then explore it. So vintage sewing techniques is the whole theme of it. And gosh, that just opens up a whole rabbit hole. So having an extra, I think I got an extra 10 pages easily in there. So by the time I get the 9 in from Susanna's prompts, I'll still have room to do others. And, you never know, Susanna might continue the project. Just once a month we get an old style technique. So if you're not doing it, come over and do it. It's really good. There's one coming up, cut work, and it took me a little bit to get into it and film it because I was a little bit nervous about it. I love cut work, where you would do some embroidery and then you cut out sections to create like a stained glass window effect. And Susanna gives you a very simple project to work with. It's a couple tulips in the little pattern that you get, or the instruction booklet that you get when you purchase it on Etsy. And I was like, oh boy, I've never done that. That looks hard. Anyway, I watched a couple videos and spoke to Susanna because she knows I'm cheeky and I'm stitching ahead. Sort of got to do it a little bit. There's so much work on the plate at the moment. So I spoke to Susanna and she gave me a few little tips, and I thought, oh, well, I can do this. And loved it. Absolutely loved it. So if you've never done cut work, even if you just join in for that 1 month, it was really good. I started thinking about how I could apply that technique to these types of projects just to create a little bit of interest. Now, I would never have attempted cut work if it wasn't for Susanna picking some really old school sewing techniques and making us do it. And that's the beauty of these prompts, because they sort of push your boundaries a little bit. I think that's why I'm struggling a little bit with a project to take on the ship, on our cruise, because I'm freewheeling it now in my own head. I've not got someone to, isn't that terrible English? I don't have someone providing me a prompt to sort of, I don't know, it's like my brain is like scattered everywhere, thinking of a million things, observing a million things, just wanting to try a million things. And sometimes it's very hard to get the brain just to slow down a moment and narrow in on a particular technique or style or theme or whatever. So having a structured environment to work in for someone who's got a bit of a crazy creative brain is really good. I can usually, you know, pull my own ideas together, don't get me wrong, but it definitely is refreshing to have a prompt and then off you go to pull your materials together, your ideas, your concept. That's really, really cool. Okay, so just probably cutting out more than I need here, but I've got 2 greens, a fresher green and then this darker green. So I just want a few of this fresh green. Like the darker ones can sit further in the pumpkin bush, deeper, and the fresher ones can come on top. Well, that's the theory anyway. And then can I be as cheeky as to wind some flowers in amongst it? This will be the last little green one I think I need. So yeah, if you're not doing Susanna's project and you've got a little bit of time on your hands and you want to explore some of these other ones that she's putting up, come over and join us because they're a lot of fun. There's English paper piecing as well in amongst it. That's a really lovely little project. Gosh, that got me so inspired. I started having visions of doing a massive quilt and I soon got that out of my brain. I thought that was just silly talk. But I did enjoy it. It is a little bit hard on the eyes. You've got to be, you know, able to see what you're stitching. I think the one I'm up to that is in May is vintage sewing things. So the old sewing machine, paraphernalia from that time. So it's making for a lovely collaged piece. I haven't stitched it yet. I've filmed the piecing of it, the composition of it, or the elements for it. But I haven't actually stitched it yet. And the way I'm going with my time, it might be one that goes onto the cruise with me because it's already stitched. It's pretty much ready to go. So what am I doing with pumpkins? I've got this brown. Let's cut a different elements out. Can we be as cheeky as get some lace into a pumpkin? I reckon. How would we do that? Let's get this cut. Let's bend it. Okay, we'll just take our time with this pumpkin because I'm sort of got visions of something in my head. May or may not work. So there was a centerpiece and then a sign. I might just cut this little piece out. And see if I can pinch that out of that. Okay. Gone quiet because I'm thinking. I'd say there'll be a few videos working on this whole corner, which is fine because, like I said, we're leading up to the next prompt, so we've got time. Why does that look so wacky? What have I done? Oh, okay, so that's the big piece. That's the little piece. Okay, that makes sense. I'm thinking, goodness me, that looks distorted. All right. Now, don't lose the templates, Corrine, because you may wish to do another one. I'm wondering if I can do this panel in the brown. Oh, I'm getting tricky now. Look at this. If it doesn't look right, we can just disregard that concept. But I'm going to try it. I want to make them look different to what you would imagine a pumpkin to be. Because this piece is breaking all the rules. Still haven't had time to get to our peacock. It'll happen. I'm sure there'll be a prompt that'll be reasonably simple and I can just get straight into, you know, a random element. Now, I would like a lace. Just looking around my table. Didn't think this through real well, did I? I'd like a lace that could go in the center. I'm just going to grab my bucket of lace. Oh, one of the girls asked me about polka dot pattern book and who made it and where it was from. I've been meaning to put this in the comments. We were flipping through some patterns I had. Who did this? Threads of Time Australia. Okay, there we go. There's a phone number as well. I'm not sure if they still exist. Red Brolly Graphics. Okay. The Polka Dot Girls with a hyphen. Polka Dot Girls. Red Brolly. There we go. There's all the information. She had a feeling that it did look like Red Brolly. So that's the details. I will write that in the comments back to the lady that asked me about that pattern. Now, where was I? Lace. Let's get in amongst our scraps here and see if there's a snippet in here, or I sort of need a fairly tight woven. That's supposed to be tied around something. It's obviously not. Oh, I wonder. How big is this little template? That would work. That will work. And it's got a bit of a shape about it. Is it too narrow? No, we'll give it a go. We'll snip it out. Might be too narrow. We'll give it a try. I like how it's got that little shape in the center of the lace. It sort of caught my eye. I guess we can make that quadrant a little bit bigger if we need to. It won't matter. I just don't want that lace to disintegrate too much. It can be a little furry looking because that's a nice rustic feel for this type of slow stitch. But we'll see. There we go. So we just need to make sure we get that shape. Yeah, I like that. Fancy. Fancy, fancy. Yeah, that's good. Yep. So I'll hang on to that. Now, we need, does that brown look weird? I think it does. I'm not digging that. Which was the piece that I cut for that? That one. Yeah, I don't like the brown. I like the little lace quadrant. We might get the brown. We've got a gum tree down the back of our block that is shedding its bark, which is really not a good sign. I believe the tree is probably distressed, or they slowly die over years and it's dropping all of its bark. It could be a bit of a heat thing, but oh, I don't know. It's been happening for about 6 months. Well, Bandit just thinks it's Christmas. So there's these shards of bark that are probably 1/2 metre long, sometimes longer, all laying around the base of this tree. Heaps of it, because it's a big tree. And he goes down there and picks up pieces of this bark and brings them back up to the house and plays with them. So he's just shot past the window with 1/2 metre of bark in his mouth. So what do? I spend my time picking up bark and taking it down to, we've got like this fire pit type thing where when these big trees drop rubbish from themselves, they I can pick it up and pop it in the fire. Okay, so I'm just cutting out a little brown stalk. I think that'll work well. let's have a play with some leaves. I'm just going to place them around. Like so. And then I'll interconnect with some vines and things like that. Now, this is the flower piece. Don't forget Bunny as well. This is the fabric I picked up that I just felt was very similar to this project. So I'm wondering if there's a floral piece that inspires me here that could be embroidered. So it's got the grey in it that matches this arbor. Where's the edge of the fabric? What have we got? Just looking at that rose there, it's upside down, but thinking about winding that in amongst it just to mix it up a little bit. I might cut that rose out. You're probably thinking, what is she up to? I'll take that little gold flower as well with this, the fussy cut out. Let's have a look. I don't know if this will work or not, but we'll give it a go. So I'm just going to pop that there for a minute. I'm just going to close my door. Hubby's hopped up to make some breakfast and he's got to head out for the day, so shut the door so he can make all the noise he wants. Now, just going to fussy cut this a little bit. Do I want all that up there? Sort of makes it feel a little bit more interesting if you've got those little buds. Okay, so I'm just doing a little fussy cut. Look, at the end of the day, if I don't use it, I can use it somewhere because it definitely matches. It's got those correct colours. Got so much stitching to do on these types of pieces. I haven't even looked at that big piece up the top corner, but that's all good. It'll happen. Painting in thread. So much fun. Maybe I'll just take this piece on the cruise. There's so much work I could do on this. I don't know. Maybe I'll just enjoy my cruise and just stop it. I'm going to leave the gold there for a minute. That might help bring in that pumpkin tone. Okay, I got this fabric from Dewdrop In at Hervey Bay. For any of the local Aussie girls that are wondering where I picked it up. So let me move the camera over a little bit. Okay, so happy with the pumpkin, happy with his location. It's now, do I add in this rose to sort of carry us on our way. Is there room for bunny? Not really. Not at this stage. So I'd like the pumpkin vine to sort of be twisting through the whole thing. Don't think we're going to do another pumpkin. We'll just have the one. It's all going to be foliage related, I think. And I wouldn't mind having the vine coming up that post there a little bit, like ivy. I think I need to turn that, guys, so that it's more the point of the pumpkin vine is, or is that too big? Do I need just a little guy in there? I like how it's bulky and thick. I'm just moving that up that post a little bit because I can twist vines up there. Do we have... Now I also need to take into account some crocheted elements too. But I'm thinking we've got a good start there. Why does that pumpkin look weird? Have I done something wrong there? No. They're the right pieces in the right spot. Just got to get it exactly in the right spot, which I can fiddle around with when I get close to that. The other thing I've got here is this little doily. I'm going to cut out this piece. I just feel like that could be worked into the background maybe. That's cut work, where they've stitched and then cut away the background fabric to reveal some little holes. Just gorgeous. I don't know if this will work, but I sort of feel like I could bring this in behind it all because I've got a very neutral background. As we do elements here, I sort of have to think about what my background is, the texture behind everything, because I haven't gone ahead and laid down a background like we've done in other pieces. So I do need to work in some little elements as well. Yeah, I'm liking that. This is heading somewhere. There's some little flowers left behind on this, so let's grab them out. Shame not to pop them somewhere, even if they go back into the garden, back along that fence line. You sort of need some big chunky pieces and then some little itty bitty pieces just to sort of soften your image. I don't know if that was technical speak or not. We're going to come up to the hour very shortly, but I feel like we've made some progress. So now it's just a case of piecing this all down, fiddling around with it. Do I bring the rose higher? Give myself some space down there. So we'll keep fiddling. And then what we'll do is I'm going to walk away from it. I'll finish the video on the hour. We're going to walk away from it. And I'm going to just have a look at it with fresh eyes again. And then I'll pick up. I like how that pumpkin leaf blends nicely into that. Okay, now bunny. Can we disguise our little bunny? And I need to make him smaller. He's too big of an element. So let's just fussy cut him down a little bit more. In order to make him fit. I also need to dig out some additional lace and some bits and pieces to help build the background. So when I finish filming, I'll go hunting. Do we bring that pumpkin down a little bit? Don't even mind the pumpkin with just those 3 segments. I need a smaller leaf. Then can I bring the rose in closer to the piece? And then start the winding of the pumpkin up the... Then how do we do this piece? Do we bring it more out there like that? Let me come up a little bit on the camera, guys, so you can get more of an overview. I just don't think I can get Bunny in. I just don't think he's going to work in here yet. I liked how the green pumpkin leaf tucked in there. It's subtle, it's behind it, it links. I like how my pumpkin's got a little bit smaller. I've still got plenty of room for some little tendrils. I can bring this down a little bit. I might just snip that off of there. Now where are we at? I think I prefer this darker leaf in here. It can be in front, so there's this little pumpkin happening here in the corner. And we can bring some of this cheesecloth in here and muck around a little bit with the ground underneath the pumpkin, and then off we start with this floral treatment, but the vine still keeps popping up as it heads off. I might just pop that under there. My father would not cope with the idea that there was a rose bush in the middle of his pumpkin patch. He would just think that was the weirdest thing. That's just, he's so realistic. I remember we were having a family holiday and my mum and I decided we were going to paint a rabbit. We had just in a watercolour book. So I had found an image and I said, righto, we're going to have a go at reproducing that. My mum was always very nervous about those types of creative activities. I don't like those flowers there. They look like I've just placed them, which of course I have. Yeah, she was very nervous about the whole thing. She was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. So anyway, we did. And he was beautiful. Actually, no, what it was is I'd bought a picture for my wall, a big rabbit, just the face, his chubby cheeks, his ears, just his head. So we were looking up at that on the wall and having a go at sketching it and then dropping some watercolour in on it. It was so much fun. My dad thought it was terrible because it was that abstract look. It wasn't an actual rabbit. Plus he hates rabbits. They eat his vegetables. So he's got a love-hate relationship with rabbits. He likes hares. They're native to Australia, but he's got a bit of a dislike for rabbits. I feel like that leaf needs to be a little bit smaller. I wonder if I could cut that down, maintaining the shape, just to get us that little bit extra size difference. Yeah, so my dad is like, bloody rabbits, you know, they've just cleaned out all my baby beans or the tops of the carrots. You know, in one night, they'll just come in and decimate a heap of rows of vegetables that has just planted, or they're just starting to take the seedlings, and in come rabbits. Oh, so here we are, us girls sitting there painting bloomin' rabbits. Plus they didn't look like rabbits. They were, you know, it was an abstract version of a rabbit. I'll have to find a picture for you. It's here somewhere. So Dad was like, they're bloody terrible. That doesn't look like a rabbit. So trying to explain to Dad that it was a stylized rabbit, I'm going to cut another one of this little guy because I feel like we can get up the top here one more, and it could be a smaller leaf because the vine is sort of teetering out. So I'm just going to trim that. It was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. I know when he looks at artwork, if it's abstract, he just can't get his head around it. Like, I went on to paint some birds and, you know, just random things, flowers and that. And he didn't like any of them because they were too stylized. And watercolour can be a bit that way. You drop in a little droplet of colour and it bleeds, and, you know, you sort of create an image from those techniques. So my little wrens and things that I was painting just were too stylized for him. And he just thought they weren't birds. It was hilarious. I was trying to explain to him, no, Dad, you've got to imagine that, you know. It was really funny. I'm pretty happy with that, guys. I know you probably think I'm losing my noodle, but I reckon by the time we bring in some vines and some curly bits and bits off of here and there and stitch it all down, I think it'll come together. I don't think Bunny's going to make it unless he pops in right at the very end as a little morsel, possibly, but I'm happy with that, I think. I like how we've got this bit of a floral feature coming through. He's nestled in the paddock. He's got his pumpkin, so it sort of carries the story, but then we're back onto the French garden. I think I'll definitely bring some of this cheesecloth in around here with some of the beads and, you know, all of that shenanigans we had, some buttons, and I think then these little guys will find a home in amongst it as part of the treatment across the ground. And possibly Bunny might be able to slide in there. I think he might, to be honest. Maybe I can tuck a doily piece in here just to soften it, to carry that on. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm just going to look at it for a day and see if there's any other little elements that I want to poke in there. And this time what I'll do with the fabric is I'll get my art glitter glue and I'll just run a little bit around the edge of all of these pieces just so that they don't fray too much, and that'll hold everything down. I could even use the little slow line glue as well. The quilters love using this when they're doing their paper piecing and applique. I just don't have many sticks left because you replace this little stick. I don't know if I have many left, so all right, I can tidy up my mess to the side here. And like I said, I'm just gonna look at it a little bit. I do love this. And actually, the bunny actually works for me because it's like a whole stitched piece just following through there on top of the background, which is the snowman and the snowman, for goodness sakes. That's because I'm ordering Christmas stock at the moment for our business. And I've got snowman on the head, in the head. So Scarecrow doesn't stand a chance. Too funny. All right. I'm going to just take a breath for a moment and just absorb this. Make sure that the layers are right. Like I just lifted that flower up over the back of the bunny. Sort of makes him feel like he is not an afterthought now because the flower is pulling him down. Yeah, I'm definitely liking the size of that pumpkin better. I don't think it needs to be any more than that. I wonder what lace I could bring in over here. Okay, I've got 2 minutes. Where is that piece from there? See, there's this piece as well. Can't see it. Must have come out, gone somewhere else. There's a little bit that didn't get used off of that. No, it's too far away from the main flower. See, that's another one that could be fussy cut out and potentially woven into it. Anyway, let's just take a breath, have a look at the piece. I think I do like it as it is. I do have room here, but for something. All right. Okay, I can sit here all day just looking at it. I will say goodbye, have a little think and a look, and I will see you all in the next video as we soldier on with our piece. All right, guys, look after yourselves. Bye for now.